Safety. It's a big thing in the workshop. If you don't feel safe doing something, or you just don't feel comfortable, don't do it. You're the only person who can keep you safe. And if you don't do it, no one else can.
Okay, welcome back to the shop. Now look at this view out my garage door. 16th of December here in Nova Scotia. Look at the sun shining. It's a beautiful day, about 10 degrees. I just don't believe it. It's just fantastic. So, a lovely day to sit and glue a few pens. I have a little table here that I just kind of set up, and a little table I just set up and use for gluing the pen. So I'm going to show you how I do it. There's nothing magic about it. Okay, I like to get comfortable, have a little seat. We have some slices of potato here. We have the blanks that we've drilled. I've got a cup of coffee. Blanks we've drilled. We have the barrels, and these have all been sanded. As you can see, they've been rough sanded so that the oxidization is taken off, and there's a good surface to grip. So the first thing we do is stick the tube in the potato, give it a twirl, and you see it fills the end in. Stick it in, give it a twirl, there. So we block the end of the tube. I like to make sure they're dry. Now usually I mix enough 5-minute epoxy to do, whoops, the potato didn't stay in the tube, to do about 4 or 5 halves of pens. So I'll fill 6 of these, say for example. So I'm ready to go with potato. Dry them off. Have them sitting here. Okay. Now, I use these little popsicle sticks, and I use the 5-minute epoxy that I get from the dollar store. It costs $1.25 for one of these little tubes, and just squeeze out enough for, that didn't come out very even, so I'm just going to put that off to the side, and I'll use, that's clever, stuck my finger in it, I'll use this other end here, there, both sides are squeezing out equally. I'll put a little pile about, size of 2 peanuts, and then you pull back on the plungers, sucks the epoxy back in the tube so you don't have it hanging out the ends of the tubes. Now, you have to mix this very thoroughly. It's important that, that was a mistake, you know, to do it on this where I have this. I keep sticking my finger in it. Anyway. Mix it up very thoroughly. Like so. Yeah. Now, I take the wooden tube, and I take this little punch, and I coat all around the outside edge with it, and I'll put it inside and spin the pen blank on the tube. So I've coated the whole inside of the tube here with a thin layer of 5-minute epoxy. Okay, take the brass tube and just wipe off the ends, get it on the tube, and spin the tube in. Now it's important that you get the tube in equal distance, well, that each end is inside underneath the wood. So I just make sure that both ends are underneath the wood here. There. That's it. We set it aside to dry. Oh, I'll do it over here. There. And away we go again. Number 2. Put some on the punch. Just a 3/16 punch, I believe. Yeah, make sure it's all around. I rotate the punch as well to make sure there isn't a blob sort of hiding underneath, and rotate the dowel on it there. Wipe off the end of the tube and rotate it in, and make sure the end is inside. This end is inside. Good. Set it aside. And so that's all there is to it. Looks like we might get 4 done with that first mix I made here. 4 halves, that's like 2 pens. I find this method really spreads the epoxy everywhere inside the hole, and I get a very good gluing. Of the tube inside the pen blank. Yeah. There, down inside, and this end is down inside. Lovely. So, yeah, we've got enough for one more. Yeah. And you can tell by the 4th one it's getting pretty stiff. Harder to push in the tube. Get it down below the end. There. I'd like to get that in just a touch more. There, that's better. Okay. So we got 4 from that first mix. So what we'll do then is remove that piece of paper and the stick, put it in the garbage, and we're off fresh to go to the races again. We'll do the next well, I need to have some more tubes with potato in them. I'll just do that. Just do a couple more just in case. Oops. Check that the potato does. This is old potato, it's been here a day or so. Fresh potato is probably does a better job. So as long as it keeps the glue out from going up inside the tube, it's doing its job. Some people use wax, and I'm sure there's other things you could use. It's just something that will come out easily, and will stop the glue going up inside the tube. That's all we're looking for here. Do a couple more. Now, dry them off. to another little mix up. And yeah, it's coming out nice and even. Yeah. I don't know how to tell you how much that is, but it's experience will tell you how much to mix. It's about a heaping tablespoonful, I would say. Yes, maybe that's the way to measure a heaping tablespoonful. Big trick, don't forget, you've got to mix it well. If you don't mix it well, it's not going to glue well. Put the ends in. Squash it out flat. Wipe off the stick, and we're all set to go. Pick up some on the punch into the blank, spin it around, coat all the inside. There. Now, someone suggested some time ago, well, I've coated the inside. You have to put a tube in it. I'm putting it aside like that. Someone suggested some time ago that I turn my radio off if I'm making a video, and I really miss it. You know, I like to hear my tunes when I'm just sitting relaxing like this working. And I probably hum along or whistle or something, I don't know. But all these little jobs like this can be very relaxing, very fulfilling. You think of everything else that's going on too in your life, and sometimes you get breakthroughs, you get ideas. Right in the middle of doing something like this, you get an idea of how to solve some little problem that you've been thinking about. Finish this section here, and I can get this used up. I think that will be enough of. I probably will have covered all the things by then that you don't think of on the very first one, or you will have seen it anyway. And even if I haven't mentioned it, you'll see, oh, that's how he does it. So. There, inside nicely, lovely. Enough there for a couple more, probably. Yeah. Slowly the punch here gets thicker and thicker and more build up. And eventually, I'll just let it dry for 5-10 minutes and take my knife to it and scrape it back to its original size. Yeah. The easiest way I've found of dealing with it. It's a good time for a cup of coffee, or a cup of tea, or whatever. Yeah. One more maybe. Let's have a look what we got here. Yes. One more. Now those original numbers I put on are still on there, so that when we do get to turn them, we'll be able to line up the right end with the right end and the right pieces of wood together, so if there is any continuity of the grain, we'll be able to match it. Yeah. And so, that's pretty much gluing up now. I've set them aside here on the in this little box, and thing. There's always something falls off, sticky somewhere. Set them aside to dry. After 15 minutes or so. It's a 5-minute epoxy. You get an indication on the epoxy that's left on your mixing pad. When that is dry, the epoxy is dry in the pen blanks. Now it doesn't really thoroughly harden for until about 24 hours, but certainly after 10-15 minutes it's probably hard enough for you to start turning. But I usually have some like these that are sitting here that I've used the pen barrel trimmer on, and these are ready to go anyway. So by the time I turn these, the first ones I glued over here will be ready to go as well. So it's just a question of having a little bit of a cycle and using common sense. If it's a 5-minute epoxy, then it needs at least 5 minutes. So look, the first ones I did are now not really tacky anymore. They're kind of not really dry, but starting to get pretty hard. So give them another 10 minutes, they'll be fine. There, I think that does it for gluing. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, that's it guys. Hope you enjoyed it.